Guess who's back? Back again.
Shay's back.
Total BS back in the house. Another episode coming to you. Justin, how we living today?
Man, another episode of Total BS podcast. I'm excited. We have lots to talk about. We got a little bit of golf. We're leading the podcast with golf, Saul.
That's dope.
Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
I think it's a great thing because any live sports is a good thing, right? I mean,
yeah,
you can't go wrong with that.
But we got golf to talk about. We also have some NFL, some NBA. We have tons to talk about, and also another edition of Don't Be That Guy. Total BS podcast coming your way.
Let's hit it.
Your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just part of the program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You're not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. Yo, your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us.
So like Justin said earlier, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to get into today. And I think it's only appropriate that we start off by saying, I don't like to say Happy Memorial Day because I feel like it's a mixed message to a degree. So I'll save the reason why at the end of this show. I'll get into why I feel that way. But it is definitely a weekend to remember those who have absolutely sacrificed everything they have for the betterment of this country. So I would like to acknowledge those family members who are affected by anybody that's lost their lives now or recently or in the far, far past. Every member that carries your name or your family legacy that passes away in a world war or a war of any kind to really prosper this nation should always be recognized. And I appreciate every single one of those people for that.
And unfortunately, a lot of people in this country view Memorial Day weekend as just a 3-day weekend from work. They get an extra day off from work, but this is a time to honor and remember those who really gave a lot to this country and to all the brave men and women who have served. So we're going to have a very special message towards the end of the podcast that I think a lot of people need to listen to. And Saul, I also want to start off with like a programming note.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Tell the people what we're about to talk about right here, because I'm a little salty about this.
So listen,
we should have learned from the first time around, right?
Fool me once. Shame on you. I'm trying to quote that the George Bush speech. There's an old saying in Texas,
you can't
Tennessee.
get fooled again.
Fool me.
Hey, but you know what? It happens, right?
But Chris Scarface Wilmore, he's the CEO of Street Beefs. Street Beefs, I mean, they have an unbelievable thing going on. All credit to them. The only reason why, or the main reason why they started it was to stop gun violence in their area. If you have a problem with somebody, you can go to this area in Virginia, put on the gloves and kind of duke it out. And that's how you solve all your problems. It's regulated. They have over, 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. Like they're pretty legit, and all credit to them for what they do. But for the second time in 3 weeks, unfortunately, Scarface has postponed coming on the show.
For the second time in 3 weeks, we've taken an L on this one.
Yes. So he had a little bit of emergency. Hopefully everything's all good with him, but man, it's unfortunate. And you and I are the same, Saul. We don't like it when guests cancel, because then it's like, man, we got to reshuffle everything around. Now the show is completely thrown off, but I promise you, we're going to have some quality content coming your way. So the show goes on, as they say.
For sure. And the show went on in the sports world today. Finally, some live golf action. I know we had some stuff last weekend, but this just felt a little different. It felt like some actual hardcore competition to a degree, with some laughs, obviously. And I'm talking about the match that was that aired on TNT. And Justin, the overall vibe I got from this is that both of these groups, you had Peyton Manning, Tiger Woods, and then you had Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson. They wanted to win. Like, there was no shortcut on that. Like, they wanted to win. They weren't just out there to just raise money for charity. They wanted to win in addition to raising some money for charity. And I loved all the different aspects of it, the different bets that were being put out there. And I thought it was a successful event.
I loved it. And I loved it from the time they announced it. Having the two best quarterbacks of this previous generation. Tom Brady, of course, he's still in the NFL, doing his thing, about to take on the Tampa Bay gig. But when you think about the two best quarterbacks really over the last 20 years, you think about Peyton Manning and you think about Tom Brady. When you think about maybe the two best golfers over the last 20 years, you think about Phil Mickelson, you also think about Tiger Woods. So to see those two or those four get paired together for this golf event, and also to raise money for COVID-19 relief, they raised over $20 million for COVID-19 relief just for playing golf. That's awesome. But like you said, Saul, the competitiveness was really on display. They were not holding anything back. A few cuss words might have held back, but you heard Justin Thomas called Charles Barkley a fat ass during the broadcast.
I believe he said they chose the Feed America charity because they didn't have enough food to feed Charles.
But to hear the trash talk between commentators and golfers, like you could hear Charles Barkley talking about Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
And then through 6 holes, Tom Brady was struggling big time. Charles Barkley, said a little trash talk, and then Tom Brady all of a sudden holes out. I believe.
Well, speaking of which, Justin, why don't we give the people what they want?
Yeah.
Go in! Yeah! Oh, my goodness!
Oh, you made it!
Wow!
Chuck, take a second at Chuck. Wow.
Hey,
Chuck,
hey, man!
Chuck,
That's
Chuck,
awesome.
Shut your mouth, Chuck. Take a look at that medicine. Get your butt out here.
Hey,
Wow.
That's what I needed.
Tosses it back in the hole.
hey, way to get 100,000 for Brooks Koepka.
What a
Thanks,
tasty
baby.
morsel
Brooks,
that is.
Brooks, how about that?
How about that? Brooks, how about that? Hey, you can't tell me that Tom Brady doesn't get fired up when anybody talks trash to him. That was picture perfect. And you know what? I love it. I love it because I think so much has changed in the sports world in the last 10 to 15 years. A lot of it for the better, for sure. But one of the major elements that I have missed so much in sports, as opposed to just hating a team, I miss the trash talk. That's why when we looked at the Last Dance documentary, right, and you see Jordan going at it with the Pistons and Jordan going at it with the Knicks, like, yeah, there was some physical play and some play that kind of went out of bounds a little bit, but it was the trash talk. It invoked a reaction from you as a fan and how much you just absolutely hated a team or a player. I love it. Like, you got to bring that back, and you got to stop teeing people up. Like, guys like Draymond Green that don't know when to shut the hell up, I totally get it. Tee him up, go sit down on the bench. You got to stop crying about every little damn foul. But if somebody's giving you the business on the court, like Devin Booker and Patrick Beverley earlier in the season, when Booker was lighting Pat Bev up and was just talking to him down the court, and they teed him up, and I'm like, why? Just let him talk, because Pat Bev talks more than anybody else in the league. Let him go at it. That's what's fun for a spectator like us, is the trash talk. And this is just a microcosm of that.
And also the beautiful thing about the NBA is that it carries over into the social media world too. So Joel Embiid, I think, is one of the best trash talkers in the NBA right now. But he's also so great at being a troll on the internet and, posting memes anytime he gets a win. But you brought this up, Saul. We hate people so much, or we don't hate them as people. We hate them as athletes. Quoting the great 30 for 30 documentary about Christian Laettner, we have no idea who these guys are. All we know is that we despise them.
Every good movie needs a villain, Justin.
Every good movie needs a villain. You are exactly right. But none of those golfers out there today were villains. Like Tiger Woods wasn't a villain. A lot of people loved him. Phil Mickelson, he was always a number 2 guy, but did people really despise Phil Mickelson? I don't really recall.
I think there's there's a certain fashion of group
In
out
our
there
neck of the
not
woods.
not big Phil Mickelson fans.
But I mean, I never viewed, because I was always a big Tiger guy. I know you're a big Tiger guy too. So I just never viewed Phil Mickelson as this like ultimate villain.
No.
I just always viewed him as the guy that always came in second place to Tiger.
Yep.
He's like the Maria Sharapova.
He's
of-
the
of
Buffalo
golf.
Bills of golf.
He's
Or
a
was.
Buffalo Bills of golf.
He
Yeah.
was until he won his first major. Then he won
Sure.
a couple more. And then,
Sure.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make here is I never saw Phil Mickelson really as a villain. However, we can all agree that Tom Brady is a huge villain, and we've always despised him and just the overall image and aura that comes along with the New England Patriots. You respected the hell out of Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time.
I do.
But me, as a fan of an AFC team, I despise Tom Brady. I was so hyped about my 06 Chargers going 14-2. Man, it's the Chargers.
Everybody knew that they were going to lose that year to the Patriots.
And who do they lose to? The freaking Patriots. So I've always had a beef with Tom Brady. And seeing him struggle in golf just made my whole weekend. It made my whole week.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. Out of this whole quarantine, the best thing that ever come out of it is the fact that I know I'm better at golf than Tom Brady. I mean, I will say it right now. I mean, hello, I didn't think I could be better than Tom Brady at anything. And here we are today. When I saw him play that front nine, I was like, oh, wow, that looks like me at Tucson Star Pass, just chucking them all over the desert.
You recently played golf, right?
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah.
How'd you do?
I did pretty good.
All you have to say is better than Tom Brady.
That's it, Tom. Better than Tom. Better than TB12. But you know, it's funny that you mentioned the Chargers and Tom Brady, because there's another person that could have played for the Chargers but ended up getting traded to the Giants. You like that segue right there?
That's such a brilliant segue.
And this gentleman just joined Twitter today, and that was Eli Manning. And I thought what he was saying on Twitter was pretty funny. You know, he was supporting obviously his brother Peyton, who was playing in the event. But I mean, joining Twitter after all this time, I don't
blame him though. I don't blame him though. Respect, because now he's viewed as the old retired guy from the NFL. He can join Twitter. He might get a few trolls here and there, but could you imagine if he joined Twitter, say 2015, 2016, when you know he's on the back nine of his Giants career and things are really going south? Poor Eli Manning. And knowing New York sports fans, they would have torn that man apart on Twitter.
Oh, they already were. He just didn't know it.
I wasn't looking at the comment section.
I mean, you don't have to look far. Just type in Eli Manning sucks, and you'll probably find what you're looking for. I guarantee that.
But I don't blame him for joining Twitter now. And I thought it was awesome to see him live tweet this event where his brother was competing in. And do we know why he created Twitter at this time? Was it solely to tweet about the match?
It probably was. I have no idea, because I don't really care about Eli Manning. So the fact that he joined Twitter and it was a big deal today, I was like, you guys didn't really care what he had to say when he was with the Giants. Why do we care about what he has to say when he's on Twitter? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah.
But here we are, following his every tweet. So who
talking about Eli Manning?
That's it. I mean, that guy has the amount of personality in his system is like I don't know.
You know who's got
carcass on the side of the road or something.
You know who's got the driest Twitter account ever? Is Magic Johnson. Irvin Magic Johnson.
Because he's so PR.
Yeah. It's just like the Lakers will win a game and he says, oh, the Lakers pull out another great win, all thanks to defense by LeBron. Like, it's just like a super dry tweet.
Yeah,
like
there's no insight.
There's no color. There's no insight. No. It's like John Madden.
Yeah.
Like, what a great win by the Lakers. They won by 1 because they shot a 3 at the end when they were down by 2.
I mean, that's
great job, Lake Show.
That's why he was such a bad broadcaster. I mean, like
Magic or
Magic. Oh. Like, he would say some stuff like Michael Jordan, right? Would go up and under and score or something like that, or he hits his 6-3 of the game in the finals, and he'd be like, "Whose game is it? Michael Jordan's game." Well, yeah, no, you know what I'm gonna say. No, duh. Like, for real. Like, okay, Sherlock. I know that. I don't know. I mean, Magic's all right. I'm not a big fan of his, but he is super dry. But again, the match, highly successful. I like the fact that they had moved on and donated over $20 million to the COVID relief in 4 different organizations that benefited from that, which is huge in this point in time in our country. And again, from Justin and myself, we can't say it enough. We encourage people to really think about others when they're going out there. No matter what your political affiliation or agenda is, like, the facts are the facts. It doesn't matter what the news media is saying about it. The chances of somebody getting sick, if you're being reckless or whatever, are still there. And I know sometimes I understand we get exhausted from this, right? It's just every day it feels like you're getting beat over the head with, this many more people died and this many more cases or whatever. But you don't want to take that chance, especially if you have people at home that might be susceptible to this disease. So again, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for other people. So if you could take safety precautions and practice safe social distancing, then hey, by all means. Now, with that being said, there are a lot of places out there in the sports world that look like they're on the cusp of coming back. The NBA has finally pretty much lightened up the load all the way across the board and said, you feel free to open up your practice facilities if you feel the need and your states allow them to. And just today, New York and Governor Cuomo finally released New York sports teams and said, feel free to open up your practice facilities for players. That's a big step in the right direction in terms of getting sports back on TV.
Yeah. Well, this is huge for basketball. This is big for the NBA. I got to give a shout out to my former colleague, Zach Rosenblatt. He said this on Twitter earlier. This does not affect the NFL teams because technically the Giants and the Jets play in New Jersey. So this doesn't affect the NFL teams, But
New Jersey also said the same thing.
So the Giants and the Jets are able to go back.
Yes.
Okay. So, I was unaware of that. So with New York, one of the most affected states by coronavirus, for them to allow professional teams to open up their facilities, which is also huge too, because the Brooklyn Nets had 4 players test positive for COVID-19. So obviously the Nets are at a point right now where they could possibly return to full strength. The Knicks, well, I don't know what their plans are. Who knows does anybody know what the Knicks plans are?
Even if they're healthy, they're not full strength. So that's whatever.
But, and also too, the NBA said it would be open to having the NBA teams go down to Disney World Resort in Florida, in Orlando, and that's where you could have your playoffs and your NBA finals. So, if you were to ask me a few weeks ago, how confident are you in the NBA season coming back? I would have said, no way in hell. The season's a scratch. We're on to the next one, unless they're okay with having the NBA season kind of carry over into football season. I don't think it's going to happen. But now, as each day goes by, the NBA is slowly starting to take steps into getting back into a season. We're sitting here in late May. I'm assuming if the season's going to come back, it won't be at least for another a few weeks. So if we're in the middle of June, which is when the NBA finals take place, are we going to have a regular season? I say I'm sorry to the competing teams in the Western Conference. I know the Portland Trailblazers are a 9 seed. They can make some noise in the playoffs, but we didn't expect a global pandemic to stop sports. So I say get on with the regular season, do your playoffs down at Disney World Resort, and just go on, crown a champion.
So this is what my take is, and it's going to mirror exactly what Stephen A. Smith said on, I think it was First Take a couple days ago, and I thought it was a brilliant take. This whole time we've been talking about the reason why you can't just have a 16-team open-seeded tournament no matter what conference you're in is because you don't want a team like LA to have to travel to like New York to play a team in a 5-game series or a 7-game series, right? Well, now, if everybody is in the same location all at the same time, you don't have that excuse. And I think for this year alone, why not just blow it all the way out? A 16 team, you're seeded 1 through 16, regardless of conference, and you go 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15, and you just go on like that. That way you truly have the two best teams in the world playing for the title. Why not do it this year?
I love that. I mean, and that's always been a model that has been rumored that the NBA could adopt because, let's face it, Western Conference is significantly stronger than the Eastern Conference right now. But I mean, a 10 seed, 11 seed in the West. I mean, what are they in the East? Maybe a 7 seed. I mean, we're talking about teams that are 11 seeds making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. So I think it would be smart for the NBA to maybe adopt that model. And if it somehow works, maybe the NBA can move on with it. I mean, I'm not talking about like the isolated location, but maybe doing the seeding 1 through 16.
It would be fun to watch. That's for sure.
But you say it's not going to happen because of travel.
Well, that's what the reason is right now as we stand.
But even after COVID-19 and after we get through this, you don't think that it could be a possibility?
No. Because the travel thing is just way too much. Like, you're just taking way too much off a team's plates. You know, if like, for example, if the Golden State Warriors back in the day, who could have been the best team in the league, you know, if they had to play the New Jersey Nets in the first round, like that's almost a detriment to them. Like, that's not even fair.
Well, rather than doing 2-2, 1-1-1, how about in the early series, you throw it back and you do a 5-game series, and then you do 2, and then 1.
I don't like it. Just keep it East and West and just go with it, because it's just easier that way. It's easier for fans to travel. It's easier for a lot of different other logistical reasons. The only reason why it works in this particular case is because everybody's in one spot, either Vegas or in Orlando. Hey, run it. Let's just go. Best 16, let's go. Or even do best 24, you know, have a couple play-in games to get into the tournament, and then you go. Like, there is no rules right now. Like, make it crazy. Make it crazy. Like, make it fun, make it captivating. Like, everybody has a chance right now. Because I mean, if you think about like teams that play at the beginning of the season versus halfway through the year or whatever, after injuries decimate their team or whatever, like, obviously I cover the Phoenix Suns, right? And the Phoenix Suns at the beginning of the year, they were pretty good. They were holding their own against teams. They beat Philadelphia. You know, they turned around. They had a lot of good, solid wins. Then injuries took over, and it just ravaged that team throughout the season. Well, all those guys would be back right now. If you gave them a shot to get in, they might mess around and win a game or two in the playoffs and actually make some noise. Like, you just don't know. Now, that sounds like the homer in me. I know a lot of you guys are like, Phoenix hasn't been relevant for like 15 years. I get that. But what I'm saying is, you never know, because, you know, if a team has a chance, they have a chance to win. That's the most important thing. And I think with this COVID stuff, just blow it out the water. Whatever you thought was going to be relevant, or the status quo from before, let it go. Let it go. Come up with some crazy creative ideas and run. Just run with it. It'll be fun.
And if there's any league to come up with a super creative idea during a time like this, of course, it'd be the NBA.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you got Major League Baseball, who's still trying to figure out everything, from money to safety and everything. And I know on Tuesday, the owners are going to make another proposal to the players in effort to try and get back on the field. I think baseball, from a logistical standpoint, is the easiest sport to navigate the hurdles of safety and health, because it's not a contact sport for the most part. You know, obviously you have players in close proximity to each other, but it's not like the NBA where it's physical contact every single step of the way, or football. It's the least contact sport out there. And much like golf, I think it's something that needs to happen. And for the sake of baseball, I will say this right now, for the sake of baseball, please, please, please don't screw this up, because I don't know how much of Joe Public is willing to come back if during a pandemic you decide, we don't really want to play because, you know, we're not getting compensated fairly or whatever. You know, like, everybody needs to be open-minded when it comes to these negotiations, obviously.
Yeah. The thing about baseball, and I've heard a lot of criticism about bringing back baseball. It's like, well, you know, you say, you know, there's not contact, but, you know, what's going to happen if a player breathes on a baseball or like coughs on their hand and then grabs the baseball? and then you throw it to another person. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's how a virus can outbreak." Not if you get tested beforehand. If you have the proper testing, if you have the medical professionals around you to make sure that there isn't an outbreak going on, then I don't see why baseball can't go on. Now, the thing about baseball that's different than the NBA, Saul, we're in postseason right now in the NBA. Baseball, what are you going to do? Because you're in the month of June right now. How long are you going to postpone until you just say, okay, we're going to scratch the season?
Ooh,
You know, because All-Star break is coming in what, July?
Yep.
It's usually like late July. If you're at All-Star break and there's still no baseball, which fingers crossed, I hope that doesn't happen. But if we're getting to late July, and I know that's a couple months from now, and there's still no baseball, what do you do as the MLB? I mean, it's a little dicier than the NBA, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, at some point you just gotta cut your losses and understand you're taking the L for that year, right? And that's a devastating proposition, not only for the teams and the players, but for the public. You know, fans that just absolutely love baseball and live and breathe every single pitch. To the television broadcasts, it would be catastrophic for the sport, I would think, in the long term.
It would, because once it comes back, people just might forget about baseball, honestly, because football is going to come back. The NFL is going to have its season, fingers crossed. College football is going to come back and have its season. And then you have the NBA, and all this talk is about football, basketball. And then all of a sudden, a year later, baseball comes back and it's like, oh, hey, there you are.
Yeah.
I mean, I just as a casual baseball fan, I just think that it could be detrimental to the sport if it gets lost this year. So.
Absolutely. So moving along back to the NBA to a degree, I thought Doc Rivers had some pretty interesting things to say about the Michael Jordan. I was about to say Michael LeJordan. The Michael Jordan, LeBron James aspect, and why he feels LeBron doesn't quite get the treatment that Michael does. And I want to hear your thoughts. If you have comments, respond to this comment or this remark by head coach Doc Rivers of the Clippers.
It took Michael 7 years to win an NBA title. It's because he didn't trust. He didn't trust the system. He wanted to dominate himself. He didn't get the importance of using his teammates and using everyone else. But no one criticized Michael back then. And the difference between Michael and LeBron, when Michael came in the league, he surprised everybody how great he was. When LeBron came in the league, they expected him to be great, so it was already on him. Michael, in some ways, we allowed him to grow into greatness. We didn't allow LeBron that, and he still overachieved. LeBron is better than anyone ever thought. You should go back and read the articles about LeBron coming into the NBA and then say he overachieved that. It's remarkable. He rarely gets hurt. He always shows up. He's had some of the biggest clutch games in NBA history, yet no one knows it.
Thoughts?
Doc Rivers does have a point. He does have a point. And listen, I'm a millennial, so of course a lot of people assume that I think LeBron James is the greatest basketball player of all time. No, sir. That status currently belongs to Michael Air Jeffrey Jordan. Now, I feel bad for LeBron. I really do, because he's had the cleanest career out of any superstar really in basketball history.
Yeah.
He's never been arrested. He's never had a DUI.
The worst thing he ever did was the decision. That's it.
And you know what? That raised money for the Boys and Girls Clubs. He did a charity event to announce where he's going to be playing basketball for the next 4 years. Did he crush the spirits of the entire city of Cleveland, or the not just
the kids that were sitting in front of him? What are you talking about, Justin?
Yes, true.
I gave you some money, but I'm leaving your city. Peace.
I'm going to South Beach.
It's fun hanging out with you kids, but I'm gonna go hang out with the adults on South Beach. Cool. All right. See ya.
But that was like the worst thing that LeBron James has ever done, and I just feel so bad for him, because he gets so much criticism. Like the man averaged a triple-double in the NBA Finals, and all we heard was, oh, he's not clutch. He doesn't have that clutch Jordan gene. Carrying the 07 Cavaliers to the NBA Finals, that's one hell of an accomplishment, because who are the Cavaliers' second best player? Anderson Varejao, Zydrunas Ilgauskas,
Man, it was a bunch
Eric
of scrubs.
Snow,
Yeah.
Donyell Marshall. The fact that he took that team past the Detroit Pistons with Ben Wallace, Rasheed, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups,
Yep.
like that great team. The fact that he got the Cavaliers over that super good team in Detroit, I thought was such a great accomplishment. And even though he got swept by the Spurs, I got to hand it to LeBron James. I tip my cap to him. I think he's the second greatest player of all time. But you got to think, when it comes down to the NBA Finals and the biggest moment as a competitive basketball player, who was more efficient in those games? It was Michael Jordan.
This is where you lose me on the LeBron is better than Michael Jordan aspect. I 1,000% agree with everything Doc Rivers just said. The expectation level on LeBron James was so crazy from day one. You know, I mean, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers that are trying to throw basketball games because LeBron is showing up to open gyms and dominating the whole team as a high schooler. Like, they knew the kid was legit. They needed him. They wanted him. They went out and they got him. Cool. Where you lose me on the LeBron James aspect is, if you are going to jump from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Miami Heat with a trio of players for hopes of winning championships, because you know at the end of the day that is what you're going to be judged, then that's what you're going to be judged against. And if you go to the finals 9 times and you only win 3 times, that ain't good enough. It just ain't good enough. So I know the 6-0 debate, cool. If LeBron was 6-3 in the finals right now, I think we have a different discussion. I absolutely do. But he's 3-6, dog. 3-6. 33% ain't good for anything except for a baseball average. That is it. Okay? Yeah. You can't do that in the NBA, especially if you're ring chasing like it appeared he was doing when he left Cleveland to go to Miami the first time. Now, when you flip the script and he went from Miami to Cleveland, you're like, okay, cool. Now I think he got some of those dissenters back on board, back on the bandwagon. And it was great to see him finally win one for the land. That was fantastic. But again, some of this was predetermined, right? His greatness was predetermined by a lot of sports writers or whatever, the public. They thought he was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But we've seen that story before from other players. LeBron's one of the few that have actually lived up and surpassed it. But again, once you make that decision to do what you did with the decision on ESPN and move from one ship to another in hopes that you're going to win not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8 championships, you're asking for it. And you're telling people that the reason why you're doing this is because you want titles. And then the first time you go to the finals with that squad, you lose to a Dallas Mavericks team that you have no business losing to. That would have never happened with Michael. Michael was outmanned against the Utah Jazz in his last season, and he still found a way. Like, the greats do that. The greats find a way. LeBron has been clutch from time to time, but the knock on him earlier, before some of the Miami heroics, was that he wasn't that clutch. Mm-hmm. He had his moments, but when you truly needed him, where was he at? And again, I always go back to this in my mind. One of the very things that define LeBron James to me, as much as I love LeBron James, I agree. He's the second greatest player in NBA history, period. And I think he's the best all-around player that the game has ever seen. Best all-around player. Was the fact that, yes, everybody remembers the block against the Warriors in 2016. Tremendous block. It was a tremendous block. But who carried that team down the stretch? It wasn't LeBron. It was Kyrie.
Uncle Drew.
Kyrie was doing in the Warriors. And he hits the clutch 3 that really cemented the win for Cleveland to win that game 7.
When also a few years back, when he was in Miami, game 6 against the San Antonio Spurs,
Ray Allen.
if Kawhi Leonard makes the free throw.
Oh, yep. We're talking about LeBron James being 2-7 at that point.
Yeah, no, we are.
Possibly
But
1-8 if Kyrie doesn't show up. Like, man.
But another underrated aspect about that Miami game was not Kawhi missing the free throw, not Ray Allen hitting the three-pointer, but Chris Bosh going up and getting that offensive rebound so he can kick it out to Ray Allen, because who missed the shot prior to that? It was LeBron James.
Yep, exactly. So, again, we're talking about the greats, right? And he put himself in that category. And yes, crazy expectations from the get-go, but he kind of brought some of these things on himself. And as great as he is, he wasn't able to match his own expectations and his own reality with the words that he said.
Yes.
And when you do that, you're no longer the GOAT because you can't live up to your own demands. Whereas Michael Jordan expected greatness, and my man came through almost every single time. Never went to a game 7 in the NBA Finals. Ever. LeBron's been in how many game 7s?
A lot.
3 or 4?
In the NBA Finals. Yeah, definitely a lot. But man, you look at the accomplishments LeBron has, like the 73-9 Golden State Warriors team, overcoming a 3-1 deficit to beat them. The 07 Cavs team, like I said, just what he has done in the NBA with the pieces that he's had around him, it's unbelievable, man.
For sure.
It really is. And and he's had an unbelievable career. And I know I'm like sounding like a Lakers homer right now because he's one of us. But you judge the type of player based on how much do you hate him and why you hate him. I was a Kobe fan growing up my whole life. LeBron was the biggest threat to Kobe. So I hated LeBron James. Why? Because he was so damn good. Yeah. That's the kind of player LeBron James is, but he's just not Michael Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Justin, I think that's gonna do it. But before we wrap up with a couple things, a couple housekeeping items, don't be that guy. Here it comes. Who you got for your don't be that guy this week?
Don't be that company. Chips Ahoy. I'm looking at you. Look at me right in my eyes, Chips Ahoy. Don't do it. Don't put the Chips Ahoy chocolate chip Sour Patch cookie twist, whatever blend it is, on the shelves. Chips Ahoy announced on Twitter earlier this week that they are trying out a new flavor of cookie. It's a normal chocolate chip cookie, but it's going to have a little bits and pieces of Sour Patch Kids cooked into the cookie. I don't understand the phenomenon behind Sour Patch Kids. It's great as candy by itself, but I was going through the grocery store not too long ago. I'm in the ice cream section, and I see Sour Patch Kids ice cream. They have it in ice cream, and now they have it in chocolate chip cookies.
Don't sleep on the ice cream. I've had it. Oh, yeah. It is fire. Now, of course, it doesn't have chocolate chip chunks in it.
Okay.
Because that's gross.
But Chips Ahoy, cookies, Sour Patch Kids, they just don't go together. So Chips Ahoy is my don't be that guy for this week.
Wow. Okay. That's kind of a tough one to follow up. But I will say that my don't be that guy right now is it's a gentleman on Twitter by the name of David Levitt, who tried to put a Target employee on blast because there was an error on the price. It said it was 99 cents for a toothbrush that is like one of those vibrating toothbrushes that cost well over $100. And so he took a picture of this girl and blasted her all over Twitter, talking about, hey, they didn't honor the price. This is BS and blah, 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 right? Come to find out, this guy's tried to do this before at other places when he finds like these obvious errors, right? Target's not selling, $100 plus materials for 99 cents. It's just not going to happen. But the fact that he tried to put this girl on blast, unacceptable. And Twitter absolutely gave it.
He got ratioed?
Oh, man, he got ratioed big time. And so, hey, shout out to Twitter. Every now and then, they do come through and they come to the good cause and they back up things that they should be. I know we all have to watch some Twitter trolls say some of the craziest stuff out there on the internet. But in this case, they went to her defense and said, "How dare you, sir? This is completely unacceptable, and you should never get a discount ever." So there's
this guy on Twitter, does he actually have a profile picture?
Dude, he does not. He doesn't. None of the Twitter trolls have their name or their face, or usually it's like an egg or something like that they used to have up there. Like that's all that's why they're a troll. Like every time I see something like that on social media, I just move right along because it ain't worth the time, man. It really isn't. So,
because it's either an egg or a movie character or like something super random.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm actually kind of surprised he put his name in there. Maybe it's a fake name, because a lot of the times people will put like at Delicious Tacos 99.
Well, I might change mine to that. Yeah.
And then just troll the hell out of people. And they say some pretty mean things. We know, being in the media, man, there's some ruthless people out there, but shame on them. They're keyboard warriors. Show your face.
Yeah, for real.
If you're going to show your name, show your face.
Absolutely.
Don't be that guy.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I do want to mention a couple things. First of all, Memorial Day. Obviously, it hits pretty close to me. I was in the service for a while. And one of the things that I always thought was kind of ironic was when people would say Happy Memorial Day. And I understand the sentiment and the motivation behind saying something like that. And there's everything Memorial Day this weekend, obviously Memorial Day sales and barbecues and whatever. I just find it very important that we take the time to recognize why we're celebrating a Memorial Day in the first place. It's obviously for those who have lost their lives in military service, and it's as simple as that. So I always find it kind of a conundrum when people say Happy Memorial Day. Well, you're supposed to reflect and give respect to those who lost their lives in battle, right? And or in the sacrifice of this country. And there's three individuals that come to mind. One of them, Pat Tillman. When people say made the ultimate sacrifice, there's not many people, even people in the military right now, that if you said before they joined the military, you were going to make $15+ million or whatever, playing or doing the thing that you absolutely love, that you were born to do. And instead you're going to go and fight for our country for pennies to the dollar compared to what you would have been making. And you're going to do it because you love your country. That's a rare individual. And I think that's why we celebrate Pat Tillman as much as we do, because of the sacrifice beyond and above what was asked of him. And it's tragic what happened to him. Obviously, another one who hits far closer to my heart is a young lady by the name of Ashton Goodman. Now, Ashton was one of my former trainees when I was a drill sergeant in the Air Force. I was a military training instructor, and she was one of those people who, man, it didn't matter how many times I put her on her face to do push-ups. It didn't matter how many times I punched the whole dorm and made them do just physical labor and crazy stuff to try and whip them in shape. She always had a damn smile on her face.
Was it like Remember the Titans?
She always,
Why are you smiling?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, she just had that. You could tell she had that demeanor about her. Like, you just were not going to break her spirit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And after she graduated, I saw her a couple weeks later, and she was excited about life and where she was going. And she ended up going to Afghanistan years later, and she was teaching Afghan women about many different things, including how to represent yourself and really start to maneuver and give women a little bit more power within that infrastructure, because it's very difficult over there. Women are treated almost like second-class citizens in Afghanistan, and she made it a point to teach and educate these women in order to make a difference. And unfortunately, while she was in Afghanistan, she was with the combatant commander that she was with, and she was escorting, and they got hit by an IED and she died. And to this day, when I hear her name, I always get emotional, because I think of the sacrifice that she made, and she wasn't carrying an M16 trying to go fight anybody. She was just riding along in a vehicle, and it got blown up, and that was it. And she was there because she was trying to make the world a better place. And I think most military members that are doing this are trying to make the world a much safer and better place. And when we see people all over Twitter, right? I don't get into Twitter beef when it comes to politics, because I feel like, you know what? You know, well, it's not only not worth it, but also I didn't join the military for anybody but myself. And through the course of that, 6 months in, 9/11 happens, and it changes everything about you. And so when I'm going through that, I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, we want to do whatever is best for the country. You fall into that mold. You want to do whatever is best for the country. And part of that is supporting those who you disagree with. You absolutely disagree with, like political wise, religion, whatever the case may be, but it's their right. That's why they have that right. It's because of this. It's because people are fighting for those freedoms. So when people are going apeshit, for lack of a better word, and they're being racist, or they're being, you know, conspiracy theorist over here or whatever, they have that right to be that way. And that's why we do what we do. And that's why people in the military do what they do. It's because they want to give those freedoms to people that deserve them. And in the United States of America, everybody is allowed those freedoms. It's a birthright. And it doesn't matter what race or religion or creed you come from, you get that. And that's why I think this day is so important, is because there's people that have actually died serving their country to try and provide the freedoms that you enjoy every single day, and that I enjoy every single day. And I appreciate those people so much. And so I just want to take a moment to really, reiterate that point and get people to understand, like, it's great that you're able to celebrate Memorial Day with your families and cook a barbecue and potentially be out in the lake with thousands and thousands of people doing crazy stuff amongst this COVID pandemic, right? But guess what? If the governor says it's okay for you to go out and do that, that's what you're here for. Go do it. Go crazy if you want to. I'm not going to do it, but that's why we do what we do, or that's why veterans do what they did, and people that have given their life did what they did. It's because they want to provide those same freedoms for everybody, so everybody has their own individual choice to make in this world.
Mm-hmm. And regardless of your political views, we still have to support each other as Americans. We're all one. We're united. That's why it gets me bothered when I think about a lot of the people who criticize Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee, for taking a silent protest because he wanted to use his platform for police brutality. And a lot of people used, well, he disrespected the flag. He should have been standing up this whole time. If he wanted to make a point, he should have been outspoken about it rather than being peaceful and silent and take a knee.
It's not their choice, and it's not their decision to choose how people want to protest. It's not. That's why people did what they did. That's why people lost their lives. You don't get to decide how I get to treat this country or how I want to protest. As long as it's silent and it's not hurting anybody, I could give a damn how you do it.
Exactly.
You know, you look at Colin Kaepernick, and then you see people in front of, like, you know, hospitals or state governments protesting in front of nurses that are actually, you know, with assault rifles. Like, okay, what makes one better than the other? There isn't. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, everybody gets their own way to live their life, as long as they're not doing it at the cost of another human being. That's all I care about.
Exactly. So. And the reason why we have these rights, Saul, is because of the men and women who have served this country and who have made us all proud and who have done some amazing things for the United States. And like you said, the people that you talked about, those were the 1%ers. Those were the people that you want fighting for your country. And there are thousands of men and women who have that same mindset. So this is a week, this is a day for all of us to remember all of our loved ones who have served this country. And Saul, I have to ask you, if we can't say Happy Memorial Day, what is a proper way or a more tasteful way of wishing someone, hey, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day?
Oh, man. I mean, you could just say that. I mean,
Okay.
honestly, that's a good
Or
way to put it.
or you just don't even say Happy Memorial Day. You just don't say anything.
I mean,
don't-
I don't say it. You know, I've
Yeah.
never said it. I've never said it from day one, but that doesn't mean it's not okay for somebody to say it. Like if somebody says Happy Memorial Day, I get the gist of what they're trying to say. Like
You're not
that's-
going to get all offended.
Yeah.
and say,
No, I'm not.
well,
"Oh,
actually,
no.
well,
no,
actually.
absolutely not. We'll never, ever, ever do that. You know what I mean? But there is a weird vibe that I get when I watch TV and I see commercials that are like Memorial Day sale. I'm like, you realize you're capitalizing, or you're trying to capitalize on the deaths of human beings that have sacrificed everything they have for this country, right? That just does not seem right.
Yep.
It just doesn't. You know what I mean? So, but hey, to each his own. People go about their business different ways. I respect that. And that's why, hey, that's why we're all here. We're doing our own thing and we're trying to figure it out in this crazy, crazy world. So,
Absolutely.
Hey, Justin, tell the people where they can find us, man.
Hey, make sure you subscribe to the Total BS podcast on YouTube. You got to watch us to get the full experience. We're also going to be back in the middle of the week, so make sure you keep your eyes and ears peeled for another Total BS podcast. Also, be sure to subscribe to Total BS podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on all social media platforms.
Absolutely. And like my man said, that's one of the things that we appreciate about you guys is that you guys are watching us every Sunday night. This is our live stream show every Sunday. We're going to keep it this way for quite a while, hopefully. And then in the middle of the week, usually on Wednesday or Thursday, we'll drop another podcast. And if you have
audio
Apple,
only.
Yeah, audio only, and it'll pop right up to the top. This past week, if you missed it, we did have Ashley Shamdi from Fox Sports South who talked a little bit about Michael Jordan and her experience with him as she covers the Charlotte Hornets. So if you missed that, check that out. And hey, get on the train, man. We're just we're gonna keep rolling. We apologize once again for this lack of of content when it comes to guests. But we do promise that we will do our very best to keep the train rolling and getting some high quality guests.
We're going to get some good ones.
We are. We have some things in the works here coming up. We won't spoil it, so that way we don't have this situation happen again. But be on the lookout. We'll be pretty excited for what's coming up, hopefully next Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin, you got anything else?
No. Make sure you follow us, subscribe, rate, review, and share it to all your friends.
There we
Total
go.
BS podcast.
Till next time. We'll see you.
Your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just part of the program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You're not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. Yo, your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us.